Welcome, everyone. I'm Brian Watson from JWell Software, the developers of ResourceMate, library cataloging software. The staff at JWell are excited to bring you this webinar on increasing your budget. You can use the chat box on the right-hand side if you are having any technical problems. Later on, we may have an opportunity for Q&A via the chat box. We first heard of Jill and Amy as a result of some ResourceMate things that were going on, and knew that their story would be beneficial to many. So I'd like to introduce you to Jill and Amy Henkel.
Happy to be able to share our story with you of how we expanded our church budget. And I'm Jill. I've been working and volunteering in the church library for 15 years. This is my daughter, Amy.
Hello.
And she's been working in the library for 6 years.
So just to kind of introduce First Alliance Church to you and a little bit about who we are. We're located in the southeast part of Calgary, Alberta. This is just a picture of part of the outside of the building. We have about 4 weekend services. We have approximately 3,600 people that attend each weekend. We have 18 pastors and 70 staff members who oversee all the ministries here. And just to tell you a little bit about First Alliance Church Library and who we are. Our collection holds approximately 5,600 items and counting. We serve about 924 patrons. Each weekend we have about 136 items that get checked out. Our team is made up of 7 amazing volunteer ladies who are so faithful to be here every week. We really appreciate them. And we operate before and after our weekend services.
To begin our story, I think we need to go back a few years, early 2000s, 2003, and at that time the library was very underused. The average number of items being checked out weekly was between 15 and 20, and that was very small considering the size of the congregation, which at that time was approximately 2,000 people. So we decided as a team, library team, that we needed to look at this and see if we could make some changes that would help improve our situation and provide better service to the congregation. We were receiving from the church budget approximately $1,600 a year, and we supplemented that with VHS rental of about $1 per week. So we decided that we would like to make some changes, and we decided on 3 changes to begin with. The first one was to be only providing Christian materials. We had a mix at that time, and we decided to eliminate all the secular materials that we had in the collection. The second thing we decided to do was to eliminate some of the older books that we had that were very out of date, not being used, and that were very poor condition. And so we decided to do that. And the third thing we decided that was we were going to be a circulating library rather than a storage library. From time to time we were asked to keep materials that perhaps another ministry had used but were no longer using, but they did not want to get rid of. They wanted to keep it in case it was necessary to use it in the future, and they asked us to keep it on hand. So we decided at that point that circulation was the direction we wanted to go, and eliminate the storage aspect of it. While we were implementing these changes over a period of time, it became very apparent that the church needed to expand. We needed to move to a new location. We were having increased numbers of people attending the church, and particularly in our children's area, it became necessary for the children to have their Sunday school lessons in the hallway. And so the leadership and the church board of elders decided that we would move to a new location. We moved from southwest Calgary to southeast Calgary, where we are now, and we would move to a larger location. At the same time, we had been contemplating moving from a card and pocket system in the library to being fully automated. And at this time too, when we were speaking with our pastors, they encouraged us to do this. Felt that the opportune time would be when we were making the move to our new location. Towards the end of our one particular budget year, we had left $600 in the budget, primarily because of summer releases. And during one of our meetings, the pastor explained to us that we would no longer have this $600 available to us, that it was going to be all funneled towards the expansion costs. And besides this money no longer being available in our budget, we were no longer going to have a budget. And that meant that, excuse me, that the library would be self-supporting. This was rather overwhelming to all of us. It kind of, well, we were overwhelmed, just plain overwhelmed by the whole idea that there would be no funding for the church library at all. And so we had many, many meetings, lots of discussion, a great deal of prayer went into this. And we decided that what we would do is we would create our own budget. Now, the way we would do this is by implementing user fees. So we decided that the first thing that we would do is have a membership fee for a library card.
You printed letter to members first to kind of let them know what the changes
Yes,
were going.
we did that as well. It was kind of all happening at the same time, and there was lots of things going on at the same time. We decided that we would use user fees. We discussed a fee for the cards, overdue fee, and a rental fee. And when we came to that conclusion, we printed out a letter to all the congregation explaining the changes that were happening in the church library, that we were becoming self-supporting. And we included with that an application form for a library membership card. We gave everyone in the congregation a copy of this through their mail folders, and then went ahead with our plans. We closed the library for about a month and a half while we packed up and moved. Much to our surprise, we began receiving back the application forms filled out with $5 attached to pay for the library membership card. And it was kind of exciting to understand that people were accepting of the changes and that they were actually looking forward to the new opening and the new location and what we had to offer. At this point, with the application forms, there was a bit more administration work to be done, but this was handled quite easily by all our volunteers in the library. So we changed our rental fee for our DVDs. We had, up to this point, we had been charging $1 per week. We doubled it. So now the DVDs and VHSs were $2 per week. We asked for $5 for a library card membership, which was renewable every year, and the renewing charge was $2. We also implemented overdue fees. Each item would be 50 cents per week if it came in late, and the VHS and the DVDs would be $1 per week. This process has been 10 years in the making. We started off, as I have just explained, with the costs that I just explained, but over the years, over the 10 years that we've had this, we have had to make some changes. We've expanded it and increased our fees. Now, you may be wondering how all of the patrons reacted to this.
And surprisingly, we never really had negative reactions when we first implemented the fees. And in fact, one patron actually said, well, it's about time. And we were actually discussing this the other day, patron reactions, and we counted less than a dozen. I think we could recall maybe nine instances where we had a negative reaction and someone was against the user fees because they felt that using the library should be free, and having access to the library should be free. So when you think about it, nine people out of the 924 people that we've been able to serve is very, very small. Most patrons are actually quite happy to support the library. They love and enjoy all the resources that are here, and they love it when we bring in new stuff. And once you explain to people that we are self-supporting, and you kind of explain how the library works, and that all our user fees go back into purchasing more new items, people don't usually have a problem with any of that. And a couple of times, in fact, we were told that we were charging too little, which was kind of surprised to hear when people tell you that you're not charging enough for your user fees. I guess a couple examples maybe of negative. There was the one man, he had a couple children.
Yes, he purchased a library membership, and he was interested in signing out DVDs. He had a couple of small children, and he did that without comment for a number of weeks. And then the situation changed, and he had a couple of DVDs out that were overdue, and they were overdue for a little bit of time. And so his overdue fee accrued to $11. And when he came in, he was faced with having this overdue fee, and that he did not like. He asked if something could be done about it, and then he mentioned that he was a regular attender at the church, and that he tithed on a regular basis, and then realized while he was speaking that we did not see any of that in the budget, that in our library budget, that we were self-supporting and we received no funding through the church budget. However, he felt, I believe, that he did not want to be paying the overdue fee, and he left the library, and we have not seen him back since then. Unfortunate, but that was his choice, a decision he made himself. Another example, we had a man and lady come in interested in the library. They took their time having a look around, seeing what we could offer, and picked out a couple of items that they would like to check out, came up to speak with us at the circulation desk, and we explained to them how we were self-supporting, and at that point they did not care for what they were hearing, and they laid the 2 books down on the desk and left, and we have not seen those people back in the library either.
Mm-hmm. So we have had the negatives, but, and I mean, they're never pleasant to have to go through and deal with, and it's always a disappointment when someone chooses not to use the library. But we feel that the positives just far outweigh the very small amount of negative that we received, and like we said, most people are very happy to support the library, and quite often, if someone, well, for example, has maybe like a $6 overdue fine, they'll give us a 10 and tell us to keep the change, because they know that all the money just goes back into putting more resources out on the shelves. So just to give you a bit of a comparison, we showed you kind of what we started out with 10 years ago, and these are our current user fees. Our goal is always to have very affordable user fees, so that the library is accessible to everyone. And so with our annual membership fees, we previously just had one kind of card that someone could sign up for, and it got to the point where that wasn't really meeting the needs of our library community, and we needed to make some changes to make the library a little bit more user-friendly and easier to access, and that would suit more people. And so we created 4 different kinds of memberships you can sign up for. So we have a family card, and for example, a family could be husband, wife, and their kids. They all go onto one card and can use it, and that's $12 a year. We have a youth card for $5, single adult for $7, and if you're 75 plus, you absolutely deserve to have that card for free. Our DVD rentals changed to $3 a week per DVD, and our overdue fines changed to $1 per item per week, $2 per DVD per week, and life group kits at $3 per week. Last year, these fees alone gave us $5,000 for our budget, all of which went into purchasing new items. Our actual entire budget last year was $7,800, the other $2,800 coming from our annual used book sale that we hold in the month of November. On occasion, these fees can be out of reach for some of the families that attend FAC, and if that's the case, we're more than happy to waive the membership and the rental fees for them, because our desire is that we really want everyone to be able to use and benefit from the library. So why have user fees? Won't that deter people from using the library? And our experience over the years has been not necessarily. The primary purpose of our library is to provide resources that will meet people's needs and help them grow. And this is accomplished in 2 ways, keeping our collection current and keeping items in circulation as much as possible. And our patrons are always looking for what's new. No one ever walks into our doors and say, what do you have that's old that I can read? They want to know what the latest fiction is, where they can find the latest parenting book that would help them deal with their kids and social media. We have people who love music that come in and they want the latest CDs by the newest artists that are out on the top charts on the Christian radios. And classics are definitely always a staple, like C.S. Lewis or Spurgeon and those. I mean, you always keep those in your collection. But it's definitely the new items that keep the patrons coming back. And so user fees means that we can keep our collection more varied and current. And we also believe that our items should be in circulation as much as possible so that all patrons have equal opportunity to access and benefit from them. And sometimes your patrons do need a little bit of an incentive to bring their items back on time. And we have found that having the overdue fines was the best method to achieve this. And if your library is simply going to be a place for storing things, then you may as well shut the doors. You're automatically just going to have poor patron usage. As Jill mentioned earlier, before we weeded our own collection, we had a lot of old books that were in really poor condition. A lot of unnecessarily duplicates scattered in different sections around the library. And so once we took these out and started bringing in new books, we actually took our books, and at that time we had, what was there? Pilgrim Books. It was a used book, Christian used bookstore here in Calgary, and we could take some of our books in, and if they felt that they could use them and sell them, they'd give us a little bit of a percentage of the profit that they thought that they could make off that. So we are able to earn a little bit of money that way, so we could start putting new items on the shelves. And so once we started bringing in some new books, our patron usage started to go up. And that kind of starts, for lack of a better term, a bit of a circle effect. Because with more patron usage, you start to bring in more money with the fees that you've put in place, and then that money in turn can be spent in purchasing more new books to put on the shelves, and then it just kind of builds on each other, and you keep going. So I guess maybe you're thinking all this information is great. Where do I start? Where do I start? How do I use this information to my benefit? The great thing about user fees is that you can tailor them to the needs of your library. It's very flexible. So for example, say your library budget is maybe around $200. Maybe your collection holds 200 to 500 items, and maybe at this point you have about 20 active patrons. And so maybe having a membership fee at this point of time isn't something that will work great for your community, but maybe starting with an overdue fine of 50 cents per item per week would work really great. And you can charge as much as or as little as you want. You decide how much you'd like to charge, and you decide what will work best within your community. All libraries and their library communities, the people that they serve are all different, and so you tailor it to your community. I think the next thing, once you've kind of thought about maybe what you'd like to implement, you kind of laid out what your plan is, the next step would be to obtain leadership approval. It's really important that you have the support of your leadership, and if you can find someone who can even advocate for you on your behalf, someone on the leadership team, someone who catches your vision and understands what your goals are and how you'd like to get there, and kind of can be your cheerleader in your corner. It helps to have that person to help expand your voice and speak with the leadership team to kind of bring them over to your side. And the other thing you might want to think about is maybe creating user fee policies. It doesn't have to be complex or overly detailed. You don't have to spend a lot of time doing this. You can make something as simple as a handout if you want to hand something out to your patrons, or you can just put a sign on your desk just stating what your user fees are. If you'd like to maybe put a more complex system in place, maybe you'd want to think about designing an application form which would include your policies. For example, our policies, well, we have a sheet of paper. On one side has our terms of agreement, what our prices are, and then on the back side is all the information that the patron can fill out and sign. And once you've gone through all these steps, you're well on your way to increasing your budget. Thank you for taking the time to listen to our story. We very much hope that you come away from this webinar feeling encouraged in the very important work that you do. It's very important work that you do. And I believe Brian has mentioned that he's going to have a video session available of the webinar later on. The address is www.youtube.com/resourcemate. And I believe we're also going to have a form set up if you have questions. backupresourcemate.info/forum. And if you have questions, you can post them on there and we'll be more than happy to answer them for you. Brian, back to you.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Actually, on that last slide, you can actually now go to resourcemate.com/forum. So we wanted to have something in place so that you could all continue this conversation, have some interaction with Jill and Amy, but we do have some time for chat. Okay, so I'm not sure whether you see that, Amy, but we have a question here. Are all your library staff volunteers?
Yes. Yes.
You want to talk about that?
We are all volunteers. There's no paid staff in the library.
Okay, and someone commented here that they missed the beginning. I know they had some concerns with, or weren't able to hear the audio. And so they were wondering the basic stats of your library again, the number of members in the church, the number of books, and the circulation. If you wouldn't mind just repeating that.
Yeah. So we have about 3,600 people who attend the weekend services. There are 4 services that we hold. We have 18 pastors and 70 staff members that oversee all the ministries here. Our collection holds about 5,600 items and counting. We serve 924 patrons. We have each weekend about 136 items that get checked out. Our team consists of 7 volunteer members, and we operate before and after the weekend services.
Here's a question from Jennifer. So she says, we have low circulation. We have trouble getting people in the library. How do we draw people into the library?
It's for us, when we first started out and our collection was in poor condition, and we started, the big thing was the new items for us. Once we started putting a few books on the shelves, the people that were coming in took notice of that, and then it kind of started to spread by word of mouth. And so, you know, they'd sign out a book, and then they'd end up telling a friend or a couple friends what book they found in the library, and so then they would come in to kind of check out what we had, and that's kind of more how it spread for us, was word of mouth.
But if you have access to any bulletins, if the church is putting out a bulletin weekly, and you can advertise in there, say, check out the new items in the library and list 1 or 2, have a comment or 2 about them, that would help garner some attention. Also, if you can post posters anywhere, in the church door, church window, library window, then that would also attract new readers. I think that's pretty much how we went about it. Word of mouth is huge.
Yeah.
We've got a few more questions coming in here, so I'm just going to try and keep track of them. Louise has said, given the size of your congregation, have you ever asked them in regards to revisiting and including a budget line for the library? And then she makes a good point, after all, the library is a ministry of the church.
They have not, I don't believe, have ever revisited including us in the budget. One of the reasons, I think, is because what we're doing is working. And the people that are using the library are the people that are financially supporting the library. And over the years, we didn't start off with a $5,000 or $7,000 budget as we have now. We started off a lot smaller, and it's grown over the years. So what we're doing and our vision, our goals, they appear to be working. And we don't, I mean, it would be nice to have a $10,000 or a $15,000 budget, but it's good now. I don't think that we would say that we're lacking anything, that we're not able to purchase something that is needed right at the moment. We seem to be satisfying our needs as they are now, but our church is expanding. We have a very diverse congregation, and we are changing. We have been asked to include in our collection some Chinese items and some Spanish items, and we already carry some Farsi. So things are changing, things are expanding with us, and hopefully as we move along and expand over the years, the funding will be there for us.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we do have some other questions and some comments here. We have a budget currently, but have real issues with returns, as the library is only open when the church is open. And so we use checkout cards, and then staff enters in the computer. Annual inventory, not good. How do we convince leadership that we need to charge overdue fees even though we have a budget?
I think it would come back to argument, I guess, for lack of a better word, is that you want to be able to keep your items circulating as much as possible, and overdue fees it's a good way to do it.
You're actually retraining people? by using overdue fees. We have found, our experience is that it trains people to bring the items in. You bring in a new book, and there might be, half a dozen people that want to have the book right away. So your goal is to bring the book in, allow the 3 weeks that we do for sign out, and then we would like the book returned and the next person on the list to take it. So we have found that the overdues really encourage people. There are people that do not like overdue fees. They will come at the end of the year in December and they'll say, I think I have some overdue fees and I want to clear everything up before the new year. There are people that don't like them at all, and there are some people that don't ever have an overdue fee. They work. I know it's kind of a term that's not fondly looked at, but the overdue fees really do their job, and they work, and it's a real good way of keeping your items in circulation, and it's so that everyone has equal access.
So I would maybe tell leadership that it's not from the viewpoint of necessarily for the purpose of expanding your budget or bringing in more cash, but it's so that you can keep the items in circulation as much as possible.
Okay, great, thank you. Cherry has made the comment here, I use PowerPoint to introduce new books and found this to be very helpful. So I just wanted to pass that out. And Jennifer had asked about the range of subject matter. Jennifer had some problems with her audio at the start. She was asking mostly religious or wider subjects, and then how to decide which type of books to include. If you wouldn't mind just reviewing that again for a minute.
We decided at the beginning, when we were making the initial changes, that we would carry only Christian material in the library. And we did have at that point some secular material, and we decided to delete that from our collection. We felt that there was a lot of Christian material available, and very good Christian material. The secular material is available in other arenas, public libraries, school libraries, and we felt that we wanted to dedicate our space to holding strictly Christian materials.
Okay, all right. Louise is mentioning here, we were able to raise library use by first weeding, then adding new, then publicizing like mad in the weekly bulletin. We also built up relationships with the various ministries. Once we had increased circulation, the financial support followed.
Yes,
that's awesome.
That is. We are currently trying to expand our area of service. We are working with the pastors. For example, one of the pastors leads marriage seminars and whatnot, and he has books in his collection that he suggests when he's counseling couples, and we are in contact with him from time to time, and we make sure that we have them as well, so that if a couple cannot afford to purchase the material, they know that they can come to the library and they'll find the recommended book here.
Mm-hmm. Now, Cherry asked, do you keep your own financial records, or does the church do this for you?
I keep track of everything. I'm the one that does all the ordering, and I'm the one that makes the deposits. So I have my own accounting system, but when we do make a deposit, it goes into the general church budget, and then but kept under library numbering. And so we're always aware of how much we have and how much we can spend, and we never spend over what we have.
Okay. If the church supported the library, one alternative would be to reduce some fees. That was a comment that Louise had made.
Yeah, I think it would be almost an expected thing that if we did have a budget, we would need to be reducing or eliminating some fees altogether. Yeah.
Now, Martha made the comment here, we have a donation that supplements our library. We do not charge fines. We have found that can discourage use. And she said, I have 34 years with the MLA. We have some homeless in our church and a certain loss, so everyone has access. Why not ask for donations instead of fees?
Yes, we had that last weekend, as a matter of fact. We have a lady that is a fairly regular user of the library, and she came in last weekend and was speaking with me. And she said, you know, she says, I have been so blessed from your library here, from the wonderful items that you have. And she said, I just can't tell you what it has done for me in my life. And she says, so I want to give you some money. And she gave me $300. And that's wonderful when that happens. It just blows my mind that someone would be so encouraged and want to do that. However, I think the way the church has the budget set up, we're not really set up for donations as it is now. We're only set up for our fees. And
well, the fees kind of give us more of a steady income, rather than just, I think if we were to kind of rely solely on donations, we'd actually be really hurting. And so with having the user fees, it gives us a little bit more of a steady stream of money that we can purchase our new materials with.
Right.
I think the thing is to see user fees as a positive rather than a negative. I know it's almost like a dirty word in the library world, but I think like it's such a privilege to be able to use a library and to be able to have the opportunity to support it and benefit from it. It's user fees don't have to be a negative. It's actually just another way for people to financially support the library.
Okay, Louise made a comment here. We've had money donations, some targeted to specific areas like audiobooks, and sometimes donations of a magazine subscription or a book we have said we want. Not a lot, but enough to make a difference. So that was a comment that Louise had just in regards to all of this.
The most used category is probably 3. Adult fiction, biographies, and we have a large number of people that use our books on CD.
Children?
On children, yes. Children is very, very popular too. Yeah. That's a big question. We have opportunity in our library. We have very large windows, and we do from time to time put up posters advertising. We're having a used book sale next month. We've got a poster up for that. We have some other advertising up for some materials that we have in the library. People see that as they're walking by on our main street. We also have, in association with our upcoming sale, we have big screens in our sanctuary, and on that screen will be rolling announcements in the, I think, in the next couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
If you can manage to be in the bulletin with the new items, we don't have a regular bulletin in our church anymore. We have a rather shortened version. But before we had that, we had once a month, the library had a full page where we advertised all our new books coming in. We had a little 2 or 3 sentences about each one. That worked quite well. People would read that and then come into the library asking for the items that they had seen in the bulletin. There's a variety of ways to advertise. I think the biggest is word of mouth. That worked for us in the beginning when we were making the changes. Word of mouth brought in people curious. They wanted to see what we were carrying, what new things we were carrying. And even now, we have had word of mouth work phenomenally for us because people will read something. I'm thinking of one particular series that we carry, and we had people every week, ladies every week, coming in asking for this one series, and it was word of mouth. And they would enjoy it, talk to their friends, their relatives, and
well, it got to the point where we actually had to buy a second copy of each of the books in the series because there were so many people asking for it, and we couldn't keep it on the shelf, and so we thought two copies was needed for sure.
Numbers? We don't have.
No, we'd have to maybe post that on the forum.
Yeah.
I know, because we also have a reference section as well with where we hold all the, we have a variety of like studying tools, commentaries, and then we kind of get into like Christian living section, books for men, books for women, families, parenting, other religions, culture, that kind of thing. So if we can get back to that on the forum.
That's, I think, a matter of, for me, I'm the one that does the ordering. And for me, I think it's because I've been working in libraries for a long time, I'm familiar with a lot of the authors, a lot of the publishing houses, and Amy and I are constantly researching. And she looks at particular publishing house lists, and I do the same thing. I go to certain websites and to look and see what is new for releases. And we have a feel for what people like, what people ask for. But I think that is something that we've learned over time.
Yeah. It kind of goes back to what we see as that goes out the most, and the most heavily used section is our adult fiction. I have a list. I've bookmarked all the websites for the Christian publishers, and I take a look at their trade catalogs and any updates that they put out. It's time consuming. It is to be able to go through all the trade catalogs each time they're published. But I just make a list from that and give that to my mom, and she kind of goes through that and picks out what she thinks would be best, I guess, for our library and what would meet our users' needs. And we take suggestions too. If anyone comes to us and they have suggestions to bring a book in, we always look at that and are happy to bring in books for people as well.
Plus we have a really great relationship with a lot of the people that use the library, and they talk with us and they let us know what they're interested in, and they let us know whether the book that they've just had signed out is something that they've really enjoyed, and so we keep open communication with them, and it seems to be working. Whatever we're doing, it seems to be working, because we get a lot of comments on, oh, you have such good books, we're really enjoying them, but we're particular. We make sure that there's a Christian message in every book. We look at each book. We review all the movies. We read all the children's books to make sure that it is something that we want to promote in our library, and people trust us. We try to order once a month. We find that usually, like, October 1st was a huge release date, and we are looking for what books we think we would like to have in the library. But we do sometimes order once a week. because of our user fees, we are in a position where we can order.
It's a steady income for us.
Yes, a steady income that we can count on. We've counted on. It's increased every year over the 10 years, and we don't spend beyond what we get, but we are able to bring in what we think we certainly can use and what would be beneficial.
We kind of order when we need to as well. So, but I would say almost every week, I think. And then
it's close.
And then when the big release days, for sure, we're placing orders as well.
Yeah. I think it could, but we made the decision early on that we would not carry any secular books or movies. We want to focus entirely on Christian material. We want to provide our congregation with materials that would help them, their family, their walk with the Lord. And we decided that the other materials, secular materials, were available at a lot of other places, various other places, public libraries, school libraries. And so we decided to dedicate this library to purely Christian material.
I think some people maybe become surprised and maybe even upset, I think, if we were to bring in some other secular materials, because they know that this is the place where they can get, like if it's a mom or a dad who's picking out a book for their child to read, they know that there's going to be trustworthy content in it. There's not going to be anything that's questionable. They don't have to be worried about what their child might be reading.
No inappropriate.
No inappropriate material, and all with really good messages in them. And so they've kind of given us their trust, and they know that when they can come in, anything that they pick off the shelves is going to be reliable and trustworthy, and so I don't think that we would want to break that. No,
we don't.
No, those would be pieces that would be lost very quickly and unreplaceable.
Be difficult maybe to keep track of.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, the trade catalogs, they usually put those on their website several months in advance, and so I believe some of them have already come out with their winter-spring 2016 trade catalogs, and usually in there they'll have when the release date is, but I always double check. We do most of our purchasing online through Chapters and Amazon. Just works really well, and they're good prices for us. And so I always double check with Chapters when they've got the release date, and we just kind of take note of that and keep track that way.
One good website to go to is christianbook.com. They have always listings of their current releases and then what's coming. And they have right on the actual information on the book when the release date will be. And we keep note of that. Plus, we have people that come in and they say, do you have the new Karen Kingsbury book? We say, no, it's not being released yet.
Couple of weeks.
Probably 2 weeks. What we do with the books is, say, for example, we order from Chapters. If I order on a Monday or Tuesday, I can have the book by Friday. I have a good look at the book. If it's a new author, I'm I will read the book from beginning to end to make sure that it is workable for our situation. Then it is cataloged and entered into the system. And then we take another step here before we put it on the shelf, in that we cover each of our resources. So for a paperback book that comes in, we have a lady that uses material somewhat like MacTac. It's clear, and that's her volunteer job for the library is to cover the items, and then that enables us to give it a longer shelf life. So I would guess average would be 2 weeks.
2 weeks, yeah. Well, we have created a little bit of a system with that, and so once we notice that in ResourceMate that they're maybe a couple weeks overdue, I will send them an email to let them know that their book is overdue, and if they could please return it to the library. If maybe 2 to 3 weeks after that, if they haven't responded or if the book hasn't been returned, they get a second email. And if the book has not been still returned at 9 weeks, we send them a third email, or sometimes we will send them a letter to their mailing address, and it will be to inform them that we will now need to be replacing the book, and
the cost of the book.
Oh yeah, we have the cost of the book and the overdue fine, and we tell them that that's been added to their account.
And we always cap the overdue fine at 9 weeks.
Yeah.
So thank you, Jill and Amy, for a great presentation, and thank you everyone for joining us. And remember, go over to resourcemate.com/forum. That's going to take you into a forum. Right now we're just in the beginnings of it, so the only thing that's set up right now is a forum specifically related to this video and this content. But if you go over there, and before you can post, you're going to need to click on the register button, and you can register. And I know that Jill and Amy are going to be keeping an eye on that forum, and I hope that the conversation can continue. So from me and from all the staff at JWell Software, a big thank you to Jill and Amy. Yay, for all the time you put into this and your willingness. Your willingness to be able to offer this out to many other church and synagogue librarians. And thank you everyone for attending. And again, a reminder that sometime in the next few days, when I've had a chance to kind of put it all together, it will be available up at youtube.com/resourcemate. Thank you everyone, and we're going to close off the session now. Bye.